Hello, Fanatics! Well, it's the end of 2017, and that means that we've got our list for the top 10 films of 2017. Now, this is not going to be a be-all and end-all list, and it's not even going to be our top 10 best-rated films. It's just going to be the ones that kind of resonated with me after rewatchability and all that stuff, so it's completely subjective. First, we'll start off with our honorable mentions. Some honorable mentions for me for this year are Dunkirk, Darkest Hour, Ingrid Goes West, the Lego Batman movie, and War for the Planet of the Apes. Number 10 on my list is one that I rated a lot lower than I thought I should have, and afterward I regretted it, and that was 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Now, this film I only gave an 8 out of 10 this year, and I should have given it a lot higher because looking back at it, it had some of the best characters of the year, some of the best storytelling, some of the best visuals, and I really enjoyed dramatic thrillers like that. It was very tense. You could feel what the other characters were feeling, and even the negative aspects of it were overshadowed by all of these phenomenal parts. The acting alone makes this movie, and I regret giving it an 8, but this is why it's on my top 10. Coming in at number 9 is Coco. Now, this one made my list surprisingly, as there were a lot of other films that I did enjoy this year, but Coco just stuck with me afterward. I always love Pixar films aside from the Cars franchise, and this one is no different because it does something that Pixar is great at doing. That's exploring worlds and bringing us into them and immersing us in them and not overshadowing the importance of culture. And this film tackles Spanish culture beautifully. It looks at the Day of the Dead and the afterlife and everything in such a meticulous way, just down to the minute details in all of the visuals. Everything just resonated there, and as much as people aren't remembering the score from it as much, it has one of the best scores from any Disney or Pixar film to date. Number 8 for me is It. I'm not a huge horror guy, but when I came out of this movie, I absolutely loved it. It has such a multi-layered story that goes through all these transformational arcs for the characters and doesn't go through the hack and slash cliches of typical horror films. I expected it to be a lot more gory and freaky, but coming out of the theater I realized that this is a perfect introduction to the horror genre for anyone who might be scared of a horror film. It has just enough thrills in it, but it has just enough of the dramatic and thrilling elements of any other movie that someone might enjoy. Number 7 is the first of 2 superhero movies, and that's Wonder Woman. Now, it was a surprise because you think that with the DCEU, Wonder Woman would have tanked just as much, but surprisingly, it was one of the best films of the year. The performances by Gal Gadot and Chris Pine alone make this movie, and their innate chemistry is something that we haven't seen in any superhero romance before. Yes, it does have some stuff in it that is reminiscent of Captain America and Thor, but it does them in a way that makes them better. And aside from some minor issues here and there, this film is one of the best superhero movies to date. Coming in at number 6 is a very underrated and underseen film, and that's The Big Sick. It's based on Kumail Nanjiani's and Emily Gordon's relationship as they're trying to have this interracial romance, and their parents are not the happiest because of this. And this story is just so heartfelt, so emotional, it's so dramatic, and yet it also comes off as a romantic comedy. And it mixes all of these themes and genres together in such a way that I can't really say I've seen since When Harry Met Sally. So the fact that this film was able to do that when countless other films just come out and feel like rehashed comedies time and time again, this one's the one that stuck with me. And on top of it, it has one of the best one-liners I've ever heard in a comedy film, so just for that alone, I'd recommend this one. At number 5, we have The Disaster Artist. Now, all I knew about this film was that it was going to be made by James Franco and Seth Rogen, and I just assumed that it was going to be something along the lines of what they've done before. I had no idea what The Room was. I had to research it, look it up, and then when I went to see the movie, I have to say, you don't need to see The Room to appreciate this movie. It is not just a comedy. It is this great character study about Tommy Wiseau and his story, as well as Greg Sesteros. And I think that this movie proves that a biography can still be comedic and parody someone, but then at the same time hit so hard on its themes. And this one really stuck with me in the sense that I've never seen any of these actors do a better performance than all of them did in this one, and they gave it their all. At number 4, we have the other superhero movie, and that is Logan. This movie came out way early in the year, and a lot of people have forgotten that it came out this year, so it's being snubbed for some awards. I think that Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman gave award-worthy performances for their roles, as they actually explored these characters beyond the typical superhero cliches of the movies that we've seen in the past. They were actually flawed, real characters. The themes mattered, they were important. The story that you go through in this, but this movie resonated with me so much. It was a great climax to the Wolverine franchise, and this movie is just so rewatchable. It's way better in black and white. You gotta see it. At number 3, we have Jordan Peele's directorial debut in Get Out. This was a movie that I wish I had seen opening weekend. I saw it about a month later, and I was blown away. I was thankful that I saw it in a small theater in my town, because it's way better in that small atmosphere instead of a big cinema. It enhances the creepiness factor, and this film is all about topical themes, and it just hits home. It makes you feel cringy, it makes you feel out of place and awkward in your own skin, and at the same time it still has the comedic charm of Jordan Peele's previous work. If you haven't seen Get Out, this is one of the films that you have to see from this year. At number 2, we have one of the most snubbed films of the year, and that's Wind River. Taylor Sheridan has done Sicario, Hell or High Water, and now his directorial debut in Wind River. And this film, I had to see it opening weekend because Hell or High Water was one of my favorite films of last year. I loved the dramatic tension and suspense that was building through that movie. It just built so much. The characters were unbelievable. I expected the exact same from this one, and it didn't disappoint. Jeremy Renner gives one of the best performances of his career by far, and he's being snubbed for that. Wind River's being snubbed for Best Picture. There's tons of amazing visuals. Heck, even the soundtrack is good in this movie, and yet it's being completely overshadowed because of news and other related things with its production company. And all I have to say is, if you can't really watch Get Out because it's a little bit too scary for you, Wind River hopefully is right up your alley. And the number 1 film of the year for me is Blade Runner 2049. Now, I know that this film wasn't my highest rated film of the year because I did have some issues with it regarding its story and runtime. However, when I went back and watched it, I was blown away. Between the visuals, the cinematography, the acting, the story, everything just worked for me the second time around. I think that this is one of the most beautiful films of the year. Its use of color, its use of visuals and framing, just everything was mesmerizing. And I've never seen Ryan Gosling play a character like this. He always is typecast into a similar character. He can rely on his mannerisms that he uses throughout different films, but in this one, he owned it as a completely different character. And that's why this film is my number 1. And there you have it. There's our list of the top 10 films of 2017. If you've seen these films, what did you think of them, and where do they rank on your list? Is your list completely different, or did I get the same list as you? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. If you liked this video and you want to see more, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Check out our latest Fanatic 5 video where we discuss the top Gary Oldman roles. Don't forget to follow us on our social media. And until next time, Fanatics, keep it real.